What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second video in the series. We're going to be talking about my composition on Arathi Basin and some of the general strategies and what we're looking to be doing on the map Arathi Basin for rated Battlegrounds and Mr. Pandaria. First thing you're going to need to know, what is my setup. I'm using a Blood Death Knight Flag Carrier, Holy Paladin, Disc Priest, Resto Druid, Warrior, Ele Shaman, Retribution Paladin, Fire Mage, Affliction Lock, and Rogue. We're going to be using the same colors. Red, that's not red. Red for the Horde, and blue for the Alliance. So let's talk about the most important part of Arathi Basin, and that is the fact that you have to control 3 bases, and that the first 2 to 3 minutes of the battleground are the most crucial, because you'd much rather be on defense than on the attack, and you'll see why here in a few minutes. Now, I'm going to use white for the Disc Priest, white for general information, and then I'm going to be using black for my Disc Priest. Please keep that in mind when I use... Actually, I'll just use black for general information and white for the Disc Priest. Anyhow, so let's talk about general strategy. The typical strategy behind this battleground, and let's say this team is a dot cleave, same as before, couple of Fire Mages, couple of Affliction Locks, Boomkin, Rogue, Warrior, and Healers. The typical strategy is they will send their Warrior and Paladin to Blacksmith to try and hold it, and then the main attack force will be, let me get my color blue, the main attack force will be sent to the Lumber Mill to fight up here. And then they will send Monsieur Rogue down here, and most likely one of their Affliction Warlocks will stay behind at the farm, giving them 2 healers up here, 1 in the middle, and the rogues on their own. Here's what my team's going to be doing. Going to use my Dark Maroon. My Blood Death Knight Flag Carrier will meet in the middle with my Holy Paladin. I will send a healer with them this time. And their whole objective is just to hold Blacksmith. Don't let them cap. If they can cap, good. If they can't, they can't. Our Rogue will go to mine. Even though we don't have an Elemental Shaman, he will still go to mine without Earth Shield. Now I'll explain that here in a minute. Our Warlock will move with the team and take farm. And this is one of my favorite strategies to do. Is the rest of my team will continue on to Blacksmith to clash with the Alliance up here. My favorite strategy at this point, because they're being held at the middle, held at Lumber Mill, and they're in combat down at the mine, is because in the first few minutes of the battleground, since the rogues are going to open on each other, as soon as they do, Mr. Warlock will come down here to assist the rogue. And as soon as this base is capped, he will return. He will give the rogue health cookies if he needs it again. If not, he'll just return on his own. Shouldn't need to now that health cookies tick for 3. Pardon me one moment while I take a sip of my drink. For some reason, talking really dries your mouth out. Okay. So, the first few minutes of this battleground are incredibly crucial. We've already established that most times we will take the mine unless they send a second DPS, because there's no healers going to mine. Lumber Mill is one of the most valuable areas on the map because it overlooks the entire map. You can see the enemy movements for the entire map and report them accordingly. So you want to win at the Lumber Mill. At such time as you finally win, which I assume my team will because it's a dot cleave, and we discussed that in the Warsong Gulch video, the mage will slow follow you to the blacksmith. The blacksmith will be taken over because they will have to res all the way back here at their base, because they will not have taken farm yet. And you will have secured yourself what is known as a triangle of power. And at this point, mines doesn't matter anymore. We can lose mines if we have to. We want to hold it as long as we can, because if we can have a 4 base cap, we'll gain a lot of points right off the bat. And we're going to be focusing on trying to hold that 4 cap as long as possible. But I want you to keep in mind that the triangle of power has been established. What this basically means is it's very easy for a team to defend farm, lumber mill, and blacksmith. Even if the Alliance, let's switch to Alliance colors here. Even if the Alliance immediately come down here and take out the mine and start to push farm, we'll still have a pretty strong response team, because at this point their only options, if they've taken the mine, is to attack blacksmith, to defend stables, attack blacksmith, or attack farm, because lumber mill's out of the question, because we have a very quick response team able to head right up to lumber mill. Now, lumber mill's an extremely important part of the map, so they will probably still try to take it once in a while. So let's talk about, now that we've established these areas, I'm going to set up my team as if we've established control of these areas quickly, so bear with me while I fill in the colors. I forgot to mention that after the Frost Mage takes blacksmith, I want him to head back up to the lumber mill. But anyhow, after you've established a triangle of power, your job is basically to defend it, because you only need 3 bases in order to win. Now you're kind of forcing the enemy team to attack you, and you're forcing yourself to stay on the defensive. You get to make the choice. Do you want to press an attack once in a while and leave some of your bases a little bit weak, or do you want to defend them furiously? I would highly suggest defending. Our Ellie Shaman's going to be in green. The Ellie Shaman will have been left behind on the fall down to defend the lumber mill. Our mage will return to the shaman side and will help defend with him. We will have our warlock back at farm. We will have our rogue back at farm, because that's where he will resurrect. The disc priest will be floating right there in the middle. The druid, the ret paladin, let's use hot pink for ret. The ret paladin and myself will now be waiting in the middle for the Alliance attack. And the Alliance has to make a choice. Let's say the Alliance also has the mine, and they have the farm. The Alliance has to make an attack, or make a choice here. Do they split DPS and attack 2 points, or do they combine DPS and attack 1? Keep in mind, they have to at least leave a single person at each base to defend it, in case we come after it anyway, which we will at some point. So the Alliance has to make a choice. Do they attack the farm? Do they attack the blacksmith? Or do they try to come back up and take the lumber mill? Well, if you remember, Mr. Ellie Shaman up here can see each direction except for into the mine which way the Alliance is coming, and he'll be able to report their movements. So he will be the lumber mill target caller. I will be the blacksmith target caller, and the warlock will be, the rogue will be the farm target caller. At this point, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to retake a base, because they're basically going to be forced to split their DPS, but even then it's going to be mildly effective. So if you remember, we're going to use the color black for general information. This is going to be a float team, these two here. And basically what this does is it allows, if there's attack on the mine, there's a healer extremely close. If there's attack on the lumber mill, there's a healer extremely close. And he will float between bases that are being attacked. Now let's say that our disc priest heads up to lumber mill because there's like a rogue, not a rogue, but let's say there's a couple of Alliance attacking. Why won't it switch colors? There's a couple of Alliance attacking the lumber mill. he will report to the lumber mill and start healing, while the warrior, ret, and druid make their way up to the lumber mill. However, if there's simultaneous attacks, and he is on the way up to the lumber mill, and farm gets attacked, he is the primary float healer. So he will turn around and head right back to the secondary area that's being attacked, because we will be carrying a healer with us regardless. If we need the Disc Priest, we'll call him up to us, and chances are we won't. But say there is a 3-prong attack, in which the Alliance also try to attack Blacksmith at the same time. Now, they're not going to be able to bring a whole lot of DPS to any of these fights, but they'll be trying to distract us. It actually then, becomes my job to turn around from wherever I was and return to the place of third attack, because there's already a healer there at Blacksmith if they decide to attack there. There will always be one healer at each base, and the Resto Druid and Ret Paladin will become their own float team, and they'll have the backup of the Disc Priest if that's available. But it becomes my job to come down and help defend that until we get one or more bases clear. Now, the most important thing to remember while you're in rated Battlegrounds is when you start to wipe a team, like say we start wiping the Alliance back here at the farm. When you start to wipe the team, like say you've killed the healer but the DPS are still up, it's the healer's job to cast out a few more heals and then start making their way back to their position. You never want to have an entire group of people sitting at a base after the enemy team starts wiping. It's completely pointless. It'll lose you a base. You always want to be on the move. But as I said before, the Triangle of Power has been established, and it would be incredibly hard to break. And if it seems like the Alliance hasn't attacked in a little while, and we need to know what's up, Warrior, Ret, and Druid can always pressure the Mine or pressure the Blacksmith to keep pressure off another base. Because if you attack either one of these while they're trying to take a base, they have to send somebody back to defend them. They can't lose a base behind them, because the new one won't cap for over a minute. So, that's going to be my standard Arathi Basin strategy. I hope it kind of helps you guys out. As always, you see glaring problems with it, go ahead and send me a message. Let me know what you're thinking. As always, stay tuned for my next video, because I'll be talking about the Battle for Gilneas strategy.